Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Maria and Friends. And I am your host, Maria, and I'm so happy to be here with Coach Smiley.
Nice.
She has been with us on several episodes, and she is a returning guest. And today I asked her to come along with me. And I asked her to join us so we can talk about a very important subject, which is you after divorce. And just a little bit about Coach Smiley. She is an amazing woman. She is a life coach. She has a master's degree in social work, in addition to several other certifications and trainings. And she has a lot of corporate experience. So she comes with a heavy background in self improvement, and just she has a heart to help women. She has this desire to help us be better, and with her experience and her expertise, coach us to the next level. So I'm very honored and happy that she accepted my invitation so we can be here discussing this important subject that has touched, unfortunately, several of us. It's about
Mhm.
divorce. But today, just so you know, we're going to be talking about my experience and our experience here. And I'm not a professional. Well, not this is not therapy. This is just talking about experience and how we have overcome and what has helped us is just some tips. And if anything resonates with you, that is fantastic. Make sure you click, you share, you
Yeah.
comment, you support. That is always meaningful and important to us. But like I said, we're not experts, we're not professional, this is not therapy, but we are in the hopes that something we say will resonate with you and help you in some kind of way. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and give her the floor so she can say hi and maybe say a little bit more about herself. Coach.
Hello. Well, Maria, gracias. Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here for a third time. I'm so excited. My name is Smiley Filomeno Rodriguez, and yes, I am a life coach. I am super excited because it's a year and a half that I quit my job, my 9 to 5, to dedicate to Smiley Empowerment, which is a coaching and consulting company, and my podcast as well. And I'm so happy to be here with you, Maria, because this topic that you invited me to speak on is super important. It's a little emotional for me because as a child, my parents divorced at a very young age. I was in my, I think, 10, 11 years old. So it's a sensitive topic. And we'll get into that a little bit because of that divorce and how emotionally distraught I was. I had to go to therapy for the
Wow.
first time. And at age 15, I discovered that I wanted to be a therapist. Now here, disclaimer, I am not a therapist at the moment acting. I'm coaching. So nothing that we say here, Maria or myself, even though I'm a mental health professional formally, I will replace anything professionally from your mental health provider, from your doctor, and even just suggestions that I may offer, strategies or coaching tips. And Maria also, because we're all experts of life, we
Right.
want to make sure that you always make your own decisions and consult with your professionals as needed.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get into it because I know that we have some really good questions and if you're listening to us, if you want to go ahead and chime in, you can do so. Go ahead and type
Are we sharing?
if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you type in your information. And Coach, you wanted to share the link, so go ahead and do that. We're already live. You
Yes,
just go to my page, and because I know there's a few people that wanted to comment and see us live, just take a
right,
moment to share the live, and we'll go
right.
ahead and do that.
Yes, and our viewers, please share the live. That is great.
So just to let you know, while she's doing that, I wanted to just emphasize that this podcast, the recording of it, is stays here on Facebook for I think about 30 days, and after that, it's going to be available on YouTube forever. So you can go ahead and watch it now, and I'll link it in the page so you can go to YouTube. If you go to YouTube, please click subscribe. That would mean it's free. Just go ahead and do that. Support me, and so we can continue to do these podcasts and we can provide all this amazing information. So it's very important. If you like what we do, if this resonates with you, just please click like and share. If there's anybody in your life that you know that could use this information, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and share, click like, comment. All of that is free, but it helps us content creators to continue to do what we do best and keep bringing these podcasts with these important subjects that matter to us. All right. So, Coach Miley, are you ready?
I am ready.
The first question here in regards to the topic after divorce is, how does divorce typically affect an individual's self-esteem and self-worth?
Wow, that is a very important factor because our self-esteem and our self-worth is so tied into our partner, right? And it could be, if I can add, Maria, with this topic comes also separation or breakups, as well as any type of difference in the relationship where it no longer exists. Because sometimes we have folks that lived for so many years together, but they were
Mhm.
never officially married. So there wasn't a divorce per se, but there was a breakup, there was a separation. So I want to include everybody in your community that's watching, because somebody may feel like, well, we weren't legally married, but we separated and it still feels as if we were
Oh yeah,
divorced, right? So
absolutely.
many people, the immediate reaction sometimes is that they blame themselves, right? And oftentimes, especially women, right, we have a hard time accepting sometimes that maybe we're not liked, or maybe there was something that, yes, we could have contributed to the misunderstanding, right, where something's not right. However, women often blame themselves, and sometimes they feel guilty if they initiate the divorce. There's many women that their self-worth, their self-esteem declines so much when they sometimes are the ones that put the divorce, but more when the other person submits the divorce and they feel like rejected. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth the fight. I'm not worth to stay in. So I just wanted to say that failure, rejection, feeling inadequate after a divorce really impacts directly to our self-esteem and our self-worth. It shouldn't be that way, Maria, but
Sure.
unfortunately, as human beings, especially us women, las mujeres, us women, many times we look at someone else of what they think of us and accept us for validation and approval.
I know that for me, I was married. For those of you who don't know, I was married for 25 years,
Wow.
and I know one of the first things that affected me after the divorce, especially when I did not choose to get divorced, they divorced me, and
Right.
and all of that, and I've been very transparent. But one of the things that it affected my self worth immediately. I felt failure. I felt like what you said. I wasn't. Oh my God, I wasn't worth it. And the first thing I did, it was funny because the first thing I did is I cut my hair. I don't know. Well, every time we go through something, I cut my hair. I dyed it. I did. I started to dress different, trying to find my self-worth again, trying to say, you know what, there is still good in me, that even though I somebody divorced me and ended a whole, because for the longest time, my marriage, that was my identity, that was who I was recognized. I was so and so's wife, I was so and so's wife, and and I was tied to that, and we were a unit, never separated, never him or me. It was always them. Then this divorce comes in. I don't know who I am. I'm like, what is going on? I don't know. Like, and I know that the first thing is like, who am I now? Am I worth it? What is wrong with me? That's the first thing. Like, what is wrong with me? What is happening to me? And that was a tough hit. So it really did affect my self-esteem and who I thought I was. So that's one of the things that happens to us. And my next question is, because you already answered that question. Number two is, what are some of the common challenges that people face regarding self esteem immediately following after divorce?
Wow, that there's so many challenges. So they're not only to what we're sharing here, there might be ones that we're missing, and if people can comment or share with us later,
And
let us
Angelia said, I felt like a failure and embarrassed. Me too. Oh my
and
goodness. Yeah.
yeah, I am sorry that you felt that way, but it is something very common for us to feel. And oftentimes right after a divorce or some separation where you're no longer with this individual, that you did everything together and everyone accepted you as a couple, as them, as you said, we are challenged with isolation. That's like a number one.
Oh,
People,
yeah.
right? You don't feel like you fit in anymore with the group of friends and with your
That's
family.
right.
You feel awkward. Depending what happened in the situation, you also may fear that you're going to be blamed or that you have to explain yourself, and it could bring some shame, right? You may start feeling a little bit of self blame, internalizing a little bit the end of the marriage, right? As something as a personal failure. I see there, Angelia says, and I was embarrassed because I was the one to get served and he stepped out of the marriage and I didn't know if people would talk to me. Angelia, I have to, if I can direct to you,
Yeah.
you know something, that is so hard because you fear what are other people going to say. And I know that, Maria and Angelina, I know that we say, Angelia, we say don't care what people think, you got to do your, do you have to be yourself. However, that's not exactly how society works and in within our culture, right?
Yeah.
And another thing is fear of judgment, which she was explaining that there as what she was saying, worrying about what other people will think of you, how will they now perceive you and your family if there's children, right? Especially if there's small children. And then you may find yourself, and let us know if you can relate, having this difficulty of trust, right? Having this anxiety about future relationships. Will I find the one? Will they love me for who I am, right? So if you're newly divorced and you're having this lack of social, meaning that you're not socializing a lot and you have fear of being awkward when now you're
Oh,
in
yeah.
social gatherings, it's normal. Give yourself grace, give yourself time. It's very important to do that.
And we have Arlene Rosario que dice, hello, my friend. Ella nos está viendo desde Puerto Rico.
Mi gente
Desde Puerto
bella.
Rico, all the way from Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Into
Ella es,
report.
yeah, ella es una de mis mejores amigas. She's one of my best friends.
Hello.
La quiero muchísimo. Siempre apoyando.
Qué
So
bueno.
yeah, and you're absolutely right. One of I agree with Angelia. One of the things that one of the challenges was, like you said, isolation. And I want to go back to that because isolation was deep in me. I wanted to hide from the world. I
Mhm.
wanted to hide from my family, from friends. I didn't want to hear people's comments, or I didn't want to hear questions. I didn't want to be questioned because sometimes people have this they want to be nosy. They want to know, so what happened? So
Me
why did you
too.
get divorced? Was it him? Was it you? Was it who was it? And whose fault was it? And so they start wanting to interview you, yeah, like to see who they want to blame and to see who fault was it or what could you have done better, so they can judge and chime in. And so I was trying to deal with so much already that I didn't I isolated myself because I was dealing with my own grief, I was dealing with my own problems, and then to have to like I called it putting fires out, because sometimes when there's a chisme, there's gossip, and if I spend time to go to each person and explain who did what and what happened and this and this and this and that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to become a fireman. All I'm gonna
Absolutely.
do is spend my life, putting out little fires here and there, trying to explain everything, and then I feel like I would have to. It's like a mini juicio and a mini court date with each person, explaining what he did, what I did, and then wanting to for them to say yes, it's okay. No, 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 no. I don't have time for all that. Who has time for all that to go? No, no. This is I'm dealing with my own grief, but my own loss, because I believe that when you get divorced, you have to go through some kind of grief. You're grieving the life that you had. You're grieving the identity that you had for 25 years. You are, and I just want to keep talking about that because isolation led me to go into depression and the anxiety and all those things. And we still have Elizabeth Travieso. She says words of hope, thank you so much. And let's see, Angelia says absolutely, and it makes it worse when he is walking around with her and people see it and come up to me and say, and it drove me crazy. Yeah, you just say you do all that. Melissa Carrasco also, she's watching us to also as well. Yeah, so that's what happened. So go ahead. Yes. Sorry, I just wanted to talk
No,
about the isolation because that's how I felt, and that's just like explaining what I was going through. So I
it's
know all about
emotional.
isolation in that.
Yes, and I have to say, let me also say this because Maria, you hitting on some key points here. If this in any chance is triggering anyone, I want to say this, and you have to, pause this live or come back to it because Maria's gonna have it on YouTube. I'm gonna try to put it up on my YouTube as well. It's okay because this could be very triggering. Even for myself, even though I'm a grown, grown professional woman, I'm 53 years old. My parents divorced decades and decades ago. There's still effects up to this day and how that shaped me. And of course, there's positive, but I want to say something in reference to, so if you're triggered and you need to pause, please do that. You got to take care of yourself. Number two, Maria, to what you were saying, and I have to be very empathetic to this. When you were expressing, and others that are listening, yes, these are words of hope, and I hope that we can provide that for you. But we cannot negate or minimize, because some people minimize the grief that is felt. And I
Absolutely.
remember when my mom got, divorced. Well, my dad divorced my mom and they separated in the divorce. I was young. I was very young. Then through the years I had to go to therapy, but I didn't have an understanding. So if you have children or teenagers, right? My mom did the best that she could with what she knew to do. Now we're living in other times. There's so much more information, but be an understanding of your children, and it could be young adults also that you may have, and the whole family is grieving because there's a change in the family unit. And that doesn't mean that you're still not family, right? With the dad is the father to your kids if you have kids. It when they have kids, my mom had the kids, and I am, I'm married, and thankfully that was one of my fears, Maria. When I met my husband, which we're gonna celebrate now in August, 30 years married. I
30 years?
Yes, we've been together.
30 years! Oh my God!
We met in California.
30 years! That's awesome!
I know he's watching, so he's my support.
Oh, wow.
However, I want to tie this into what you were saying. And for those that are listening, and maybe you're not going through this, but your girlfriend is, or your friend is, and this is good to know, right? I had that fear. That was a fear that I had, that when I grew up and I dated and I found, the person that I was always fearful, will I end up in a divorce? Will I have kids and then there are kids that are from us, but we're divorced? And thankfully it didn't happen because we did put in the work. I very much in the beginning, I told my husband, and back then as he was my boyfriend, I explained to him the importance. And I was young. We got married young. I was 23 and I met him at 18, but I was so clear. So for you, if you are now divorced or you are in a separation and now you're moving forward, just be very clear about what do you want. Within the grief, give yourself that time to grieve, but then at one point notice if you go to therapy or you do journaling. I think I'm going already to number 3, some strategies, but I want you to think and answer for yourself, what do I want for
Yeah.
you? And then whenever you meet that other person, even in a friendship, platonic, for you to know what are your boundaries, what are the things that you want to work on. Maybe from the divorce, you learn some tough lessons about yourself. We're not going to say that it's 100% only of that person. Maybe
Yeah.
you tolerated things you should never had tolerated. It's not to blame, it's to learn. And then let the new person know, even as in friendship, what are you looking for? What
Yeah.
is it that you would want? And then if you have children, I would advise to really have sit down. And if you have to bring a professional therapist to go to family therapy to unpack what's happening between mom and dad, I would suggest that. Unfortunately, we didn't have that. And I think that that affected, there was a lot of emotional turmoil that I and my sisters went through. And it's not blaming my dad or my mom. It's more saying that we wished, right, that there could have been earlier on some strategies or some um coping
Mechanism
strategies that could
strategy.
have helped us.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
remember, we're talking about
Oh,
more
yeah.
30 years, it was just very different. Now you have so much information
Oh yeah.
online, but just be mindful, because when you're going through a divorce, I don't know how that is, because I saw my mom go through it and it was very difficult, but I was a child. But now that I'm a mom, now that I'm a wife, looking back, I'm like, well, and a professional that I have
Yeah.
counseled, couples and things like that, I have a better understanding.
Correct.
So
And
yeah.
Melissa wrote something here that I don't know if you want to share some words of wisdom with her. Melissa says, it feels horrible, especially when it was due to cheating. But you're right. You have to grieve, but it doesn't take long. We become stronger for sure and more cautious. That's what she said.
It does feel, and again, my heart goes out to you. I'm very empathetic when it's something of infidelity, cheating, and all of that, the betrayal.
Oh,
It has a big impact on then how are you going to, one, trust yourself, and then trust others. And it goes even to friendships. I have to say this. I've counseled women and men that have said, not only am I now not trusting my own judgment,
yeah.
I'm now not trusting everyone who comes around. What's their intention? Even platonic friendships. So you have to work. I would encourage you to work on yourself. Make sure that you're journaling. Make sure that you seek therapy. If you can't afford or it's not accessible to you, speak to someone you trust, right? Be mindful of who you speak to. Someone on the internet, I saw a post that said, um, keep your business to yourself, don't be putting out your pain out there. And I do agree. I do think we have to be very cautious as to what we put out, right, on social media, or even just speaking to others. But in that video, what I noticed was she kept saying, you have to be your own, right, your own supporter. And I get that, but let's be mindful, because you can isolate and try to do everything on your own. And we were not created to do things on our own.
That's
We need
absolutely right.
community. We need
Yes.
someone to lean on. What I do agree with that person that was putting it on the video is that we have to be mindful of who do we trust,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Be mindful also of not becoming codependent with that friend. And now you're always talking to this friend in order to make decisions. You can't make decisions without other people, right? That's different. But don't isolate. Solitude is different, Maria,
Yeah.
right? When you're in solitude in your prayer, I'm a woman of faith. So there's times that there's obstacles in my life. It doesn't just have to be, right, a divorce, because I haven't experienced it from the end of being divorced, but I've experienced it from the broken home and what
Yeah.
divorce did, right? And I have to say, prayer helped me a lot in that journey. It also helped my mother so much as well. However, let's not just isolate. Solitude and prayer, there's a time for everything. And they say that in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
In the Bible, right? There's a time for grieving, there's a time for crying, celebration, all of that. But I want to implore to everyone who's listening, whether you're watching on the live or then on the replay, whatever you're going through, you're not alone. Reach out to community. Make sure that you're not isolating, because isolating gives way to depression. It gives way to thoughts that are so negative, right? And also, other people around you suffer, right? I imagine, Maria, when you were isolated back then, other people that were around you, they didn't want to see you like that. And this is not
Oh
about
yeah.
satisfying them. It's just, what I'm saying is, you're not alone. This affects you, right? Your children or your home, and then the people that are most close to you.
I remember that one of the most important moments that I learned how important it is to have people around you, a network of people. And I agree with what you say. You can't become so dependent that you can't make any decisions without a group. No, I understand that we can't get to that point. We can't be extremists. That's what I'm trying to say. But
Exactly.
we do when we're going through this process, and even now. I've gathered myself. I have a circle of friends that when I'm going to make decisions, they have sound judgment. People that I trust, people that I know are therapists, people that I know they have sound mind. And sometimes when I'm going through things, I'll even talk to them and say, hey, I like this person. What do you think? Because I can get googly eyes and totally miss the red flags. I mean, to the point that there could be a parade of flags going in front of me, but I have the goggle eyes, the Google eyes, whatever.
And I saw a
So I'm
video that
talking.
you did a video in your car where you were talking about that. I think you said
Yes,
something with a date or something, and it was not good, and you were like, you had those googly eyes. And I was
yes,
like, I should have known better. Now I know better for next time. That is great. We often blame ourselves, right? And then we get very hard on ourselves. Then
yes.
we feel like we're not worth it. Then we're like, we're not good. We don't have good judgment. It's never going to happen again for me. And what I love is what you said in that car. And I'm just paraphrasing, but it's
Yeah.
along with what I would say also professionally and just as another woman to woman or person to person to say, learn from your
Oh
mistakes,
yeah.
learn from it. And if it was things that you say, well, listen, most of it was on the other person, they cheated, I tried my best, that's fine. However, always look at what could you have done better, not to blame yourself, but
Yeah.
to not repeat that again in another relationship, whether it's romantic or even platonic. Healthy boundaries, sometimes we don't notice that our boundaries are not in place in the marriage or in that commitment with that person.
And I want to ask you a question. It's a little bit off the topic, but not really, because one of the reasons that I see is cheating is a big cause for divorce. And I want to read Angelia's comment, but so to give you a minute so you can tell me what causes cheating, what in your opinion, but and
Mm.
it could be a lot. Angelia Ted says, I'm not sure what I want is real or is out there. So that's the thing.
I
You get
like
to the
that.
point.
I like that point, Angelia. Angelia, what you want, if you want it and it's in your heart, it's real. And I don't know if you're a woman of faith, and I'm not
She
gonna,
is.
right?
She is.
However, I'm a person of faith. Oh, she is. What God puts in our heart, our desires, it's real. Now, that it's out there, of course it is. It is. However, you need to attract that to you. You need to be in with people, places, and things that are aligned with those qualities.
Ooh, say that
Okay.
again. Say that again.
You need
That's
to
good.
be
That needs to be on a t-shirt. That is good. That
you
is
need to
good.
you need to be, let's see, because that just came from the heart. That's not even in the notes. Remember that we with the notes, the question. But
Yes.
you need to be aligned with people, places, and things with that it's in alignment with your heart's desire. So if you have characteristics in a man or in a woman that you want X, Y, and Z, that they go to church also, that then what are you doing looking? And it doesn't mean that in certain sectors there can't be a man of faith, even if there's music or whatever the
Yeah.
case might be. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when we are looking or we are in spaces or with people that are not aligned with what we want and who we are, but we want to fit in. So we fit in with the crowd that's cool, but maybe in those spaces, the individual you're looking for, you're not going to find him there because you're not aligned with it's not aligned with who you are, with the things that interest you, with what you like. So it can be very complex. However, I have to say, whatever's in your heart that God put in your heart, or if you don't believe in God, whatever the universe, however you want it, that it's in your heart, it exists. Because anything that we're thinking here and that's in our heart, it exists. Believe me, I can attest to that. Now you can say, well, Smiley, Coach Smiley, Maria, I don't believe that. Then guess what? That's exactly what is going to continue happening. Your
Wow.
brain will look for
Yes.
everything that's going to
Yes.
support
That
your
is
belief.
absolutely true. That is
And
absolutely
the
true.
cheating part, because Maria, I know every interview when we have, you always tell me, I have a question. It's a little off topic, but it still relates. And I love it. I love that we can do that here.
Yes, and
I
Julia
love
says, "I'm not sure God made what I want after 1980." Oh my god. Oh my
after
god.
1980. Well, listen, you
Hey,
never know. Pray
there's
about it.
there's 8 billion people in the planet. We're just asking for one.
You
It's
just
just one. They're out there. But I'm going back to
the
what you
cheating. You
said.
asked me a question about cheating.
Yes, we'll go to the cheating because that seems to be one of the a big reason why sometimes there's divorce.
Right.
But I think and I believe that when you set your brain to look for something, it will look for it. For example,
Yes.
that theory that once you buy a red car and you purchase a red car, you go through the process and and you buy a red car, you start looking at red cars everywhere and you can spot it.
Yes.
Like I have a little
Cars on our
Chevy
brain.
Spark, right? I never knew what a Chevy Spark was. I didn't care about a Chevy Spark. Now I whatever. It's a little bitty car. The minute I bought a Chevy Spark car, I see it everywhere. I'm like, oh, there it is. Oh, there's in blue. There's in red.
Yes,
Because
that's part of the
from
brain.
that moment, my brain started recognizing that, and I can spot it everywhere. So what happens is that once you it's the same thing with success. Let's say you have a successful business. You did all the work, you did all the process, and you opened up a very successful business. From then on, there's a part of your brain that recognizes success, that is familiar with success, that can see the steps, that can see an opening and walks through it. So my what I'm doing in this season of my life is I'm recognizing I want a husband. I don't want a boyfriend. I don't want almost something. I don't want a situationship. Oh, there's so many
Right.
names.
The
I don't
situation.
want a situationship. I don't want an almost something. I don't want, I almost had you. I don't want a midnight blanket. No, no, no. I'm looking for a husband. So what I am going to do is I've had a husband. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels. I've been in that relationship. So my mindset is scanning somebody with those qualities that I can possibly interview, and
That's right.
he can interview me,
Let's
and
go.
then we'll go from there. But I already know what it looks like. I already know what it feels like. I already know what it takes. So my mind is set on looking for that. But if all I have surrounded myself, that's what I like what you said. If I surrounded me by losers, then all I end up looking for is losers. My brain is going to be attracted to the losers, looking for the losers, because that's all I am surrounded. That's all I know. So I'm going to go looking for losers. I'm going to be attracting losers. No, 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 no. I'm going to start hanging around men and women that are successful in their jobs, are successful in how they treat their wives and how to treat their husbands, people that are winning at marriage, people like you that have been married for 30 years, people that have been married like 50 years, people that know the secrets, that know how to compromise. I'm going to start hanging around those people. So what happens? So my mind shifts and I start attracting that. I
Yes.
start looking for that. I start recognizing that. I start being drawn to that because that is a shift in my brain and even in the way I behave in my vocab. I'm preaching today.
Girl,
Woo! I'm
you
preaching.
got it. You got it. You got it. And you know something?
Oh
It's
my God.
scientifically proven. And Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks on this, and so many
Yes.
other neurologists.
Yes.
Yeah, neuroscientists. I'm fascinated with the way our brain works.
Me too,
And
girl.
the more that we study our brain and we understand about our brain health and that our brain is connected directly with our heart, right? That is so important for us to know. So as we, and it's also in the Bible, it talks about, right, that as we think it, don't quote me, but as we think it, we become, right?
Yes.
That's how it is. So Maria, you hit on that so perfectly. And I'm glad that our viewers, your viewers, my
Yeah.
community, and hello to everyone. I have a few texts of people that are
Yeah.
telling me that they're watching. Hello, hello. I love folks that are watching. Kisses and hugs to all. Thank you for
Bridget
the
says Maria's always preaching.
Surround yourself with positivity. Yes, it's so important. And circling back to the question that is an added question, which you were saying, I could not say. You asked me earlier, what's the number one reason for people cheat? For
Oh, we have a male.
cheating.
Woohoo!
Oh yes,
Jorge
Yuli
Vargas,
Vargas.
Mr. Vargas.
And I think my hubby might be around there too. But all the males, congratulations for being here.
Yes. So if you
I love it.
he's an amazing podcaster. Oh my god, he's an amazing podcaster. And so if you have a chance, go ahead to his profile, follow him, follow his account. I'm just making a quick commercial for him because he really has a
Let me
lot to
make the
share
note
when
here.
it comes to the male perspective. He has a podcast. I'm not sure if he can link it on his bio, but he has uh,
Or if you can
an
share it with me
amazing.
later, I have to.
Yes, yeah,
And
I'll share it. He's
Yuli Vargas. Hi, I'm Smiley. I don't
Ulises. His name
know.
is Ulises, but they call him Uli. But he has a oh, he's humbled. Yeah, but he's really good. He really has a lot of wisdom to
That
share,
is
and
great. I
he
love
is
that we're all here podcasters. I
yes,
love this podcast community. It is amazing. And I know that we work a lot with women, but we work with people, right? Just how, it's so beautiful to also see men
yes,
supporting, your podcast, my podcast, and just the community
yeah,
to share
absolutely.
different perspectives. So to that, I'll definitely check you out.
Yeah, check him out because he has the link. I'm sure he'll put all the link and everything, but he has an amazing podcast, and he's gonna be doing some other different things here pretty soon. So if you haven't, please follow him, and we'll go from there. Cypher Rose, Miss Davis. She said, I've been separated for 10 years and divorced for a year. So we're at different stages. We're different stages. I mean, sometimes for people, divorce takes a couple of months. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes, we're in different processes for however the situation happens. But we hope that something that we say here resonates with you and gives you hope that you're going to be okay. I
Yes, and if
mean,
you have
nobody,
questions, let
you're
us
gonna be
know.
okay. Absolutely, it's gonna be a process. You're gonna learn, but you're gonna come out at the other end with so much knowledge and understanding and growth. Hopefully, a lot of growth of who you are and be able to help others. So, going back to the question,
So but before that, you did say, so for our viewers that may be thinking, what's the answer to that? It's not a question that we have here, but you brought up the topic of the question of what's the main reason why people cheat in their relationships or in their marriages. And I was going to answer, I was trying to think like how to best answer this because there's no cookie cutter, right? There's not like a main. However, I do know that statistics have shown that in couples, money, finances is like
yeah,
a big
big one.
issue that causes a lot of, conflict within the relationship, stress, right? However, sometimes there's also for folks that I have counseled in past where they say it wasn't a lack of love. And this is me speaking to the person who stepped out, right? And had the infidelity or cheated. And they're like, sometimes they don't feel seen. Sometimes they feel that they looked for something outside that gave them that excitement of the beginning when it used to be the beginning in the marriage. And with that, I have to say, don't be quick to say, yeah, right. That's not actually true. Let's look at that for a minute because I know that my husband and I, we've been together for 35 years. We're going to be 30 years married, Dios permite, with everything going well and in health. However, we've gone through different aspects of in our life. And one of the things is when you become into this motonia, right? Like the rut of
Monogamy.
right. The same of the same. So I would say that one of the things to think about if you're going into a new relationship, or maybe you're in a relationship that right now it's a little rocky. I'm not asking anyone to accept abuse, of course not. But if
Right?
it's something where you're going to marriage counseling and you're still working it out, try to do things together, whether it's if you're still in that relationship or with a new person, where you can get a little bit of excitement doing things new, discovering things together new, maybe a new place, maybe a new restaurant. Try to do things together that bring joy and know from each other what brings them joy. It may not be the same thing you like, but learn to compromise and say, okay, I don't like football a lot, but once in a while, I will sit with my husband to watch football for a little bit. That doesn't mean I'm going to change who I am. It's just finding ways that you can complement each other and support each other in what the interest is. That's like a precaution, something to kind of like work on the relationship. But I would say every case is different. I wouldn't be able to tell
Exactly.
you, yeah, oh,
And
it's because of this, it's because of that.
mhm,
There
mhm.
are stressors, but when you interview people that have been the one to step out and you interview them, there are times that they may really share that they started feeling not seen in the relationship. They didn't feel the same excitement. They changed a different path in life. I've counseled individuals that have amicably had the divorce and they admit both were not the same, and we're always changing in the relationship, right? But it's how to connect with someone for so many years and keep the the passion alive. And that doesn't mean that my husband and I for 35 years it's been alive 100% every day. Absolutely not. But when we notice, either one of us notice, like, wait a minute, we're being a little stagnant. I'm going to give this, and I think he's watching. Just yesterday, was it yesterday, Sunday? And then we'll go to the next question. But just so you can see, have an
I
understanding of
understand.
what
Yeah.
my son came back. My son is 25 and he was living outside the home, but now he's with us again. And I told my husband, you know something, since our son's back, we haven't had our date, and it's only been a few months. We haven't had our Friday night date night. Because we have like Friday nights that we go out on a date and a movie or do something like that. But because we're enjoying our son coming back to our home, we've been more spending time with him or staying. So he was like, you know what? You're right. And guess what? Spontaneously on Friday, we were like, he was like, let's go. Let's go. Let's have our date night. And we didn't plan that. We were out shopping. But I said that. I said, you know, I noticed lately we haven't done our date night. Why am I sharing this with you? I expressed what I noticed. I didn't say, you're not doing this or I'm not. I just said, I noticed. See, the way we speak to each other is very important. And then he didn't get defensive. What he said was like, oh, you know what? You noticed that? You're right. And then he said, you know what? Let's go now. And my son didn't even know we were going to have a date night. So I hit him up and, text him and said, hey, we're going to stay out longer because dad and I are going to go to the movies. And he was like, oh, great, enjoy. But that's an example of what I'm saying that happens in couples, right? We sometimes lose ourselves and we need to work more on the communication and connecting. And if you already got a divorce or you've been divorced, then the next person, right, that comes into your life in friendship or when it becomes romantic, just think of those things. Like, what are your needs? What would listen to them and then allow yourself to share what you want. Many times we don't say what we need.
And I agree with what you say that we can't generalize, and we cannot generalize and say the reason for cheating is this and this and this, because I personally believe that every case is different.
Every
Every
case.
situation is a whole different world. I mean, there's similarities and there's things that we can say and prevent and do and everything, but each person is different. What affected them? Some people carry trauma. Some people have they've developed that habit. Is just like who they are, and how they you have to do the work in themselves. It's not even the partner, is who they are and how they feel, and they already brought that like that continual thing of doing it, and the thoughts and different things. So when they come to a new marriage, the same thing happens over and over again. So we see the patterns. That's the word I was trying to say. Some people have a pattern of living that way. Some people have a different mindset and philosophy of what a marriage is. So there's a lot of components that it's just not everybody cheats because they're unhappy, or everybody cheats because they have trauma. Everybody, I believe, has a different reason, and you just have to explore that. You have to find out. And unfortunately, there's a consequences of fallout when that happens, because some of us didn't want to get divorced. They divorced us. So you even have to deal with that and find out what happened in there. Bridget is here. I want to post her comment just because she's such a person that's commenting, and I want to make sure that I read what she says. She says, I'm just here to support Maria. I plan on staying married forever, but God and by God, but God and by the grace of God. All right, Bridget. Woo!
And hey,
Support
congratulations.
that.
Listen,
Support that.
and Bridget, thank you so much for being here. You're supporting your friend Maria. That's such a beautiful thing. Supporting one another, lifting, especially women in community, lifting each other up in friendship, right? And then also for those that are here and you're like, you know what, I'm happily married, or that's not my situation, but I'm still listening. I think it's good because sometimes you may have a friend down
Yes,
road that may go through this, and maybe something we share here, one, you can share this episode with them, but two, you can have a better understanding of what is a grieving heart after a divorce, right? Because you may have never experienced that, right? As much as I experienced being a child when I was a child, that my parents got divorced, and I know excuse me, what it is, that the impact that that has on a child all the way till they're an adult. There is a big impact, right? And then there were things from there that the resiliency made me stronger, I can say, right? However, it's important for us to understand that we need to give ourselves time. We
yeah,
need to give ourselves grace. And if you're here and this is not um, your situation, right? Because you're happily married, or you're in a relationship, or you are single, happily single, that's also quite okay. But it's good to listen to topics like this. It's good to normalize this conversation about what happens after a divorce, after a separation.
absolutely.
Good
So
for
you can
us
always
to
share.
normalize that. Yes,
Like you said, you might not be going through it, and hopefully you don't go through it. But if you have an understanding, you can help somebody and be empathetic to other people's,
yes,
process, and say, you know what, I'm not going through it, but I understand it can be very taxing, and I can understand that this can happen. So I'm more open to pray for you, to talk to you, to understand a little bit of what's going on, right? So the
absolutely.
next question is, oh my God, we've only done a couple. Can you share? And I think you've already said some of them. Can you share some effective strategies for rebuilding self-esteem after divorce?
Yes, that it's so complex. As you are building yourself back up, it's important for number one to give yourself the opportunity to grieve, to cry, to be upset.
Oh
Never
yeah,
feel that you have to rush through, through your own healing. Don't allow anyone to tell you that you have a time frame. And are you still thinking of this? Are you still not going out? Are you still not open to this? So I would say that it's so important. I'm trying to see here in my notes to make sure, setting these small goals for yourself and celebrating the small wins.
yeah.
Let's say you showered, you got out of the house. That's a
Woo!
win. That's a win, right?
Yeah.
And get into moving, whether it's dancing in the living room by yourself, even if you're sharing, shedding tears. Because I do find that many individuals say, once you separate or there's a divorce, all the songs that we loved, they're everywhere. You start, right? Your
Oh
brain
yeah.
picking up and you become so somber. So little by little, embrace yourself, do some physical activity, go for walks, join a Zumba class,
Oh
do
yeah.
something to get you also moving, because our energy becomes stagnant when we're very sad, especially after, a change so drastic. We have less serotonins, less
Oh yeah.
dopamine, right, in production in the brain. So it's important to get some of those juices that I like to call moving,
Yes.
getting some movement in. Practice self-compassion, Maria. That's so important. I
Oh
know
yeah.
we say yes, self-compassion, yes, because we are our biggest enemy when it comes to here in our thoughts. We're very critical
Yes.
of ourselves, right? I'm pretty sure whatever you may advise to a friend that's going through something, when it's in turning around that it's you, you're more harsh on yourself. Que tonta. I am
Yeah.
so I don't even like to say the word. I really don't. I don't
Yeah.
like to say stupid.
Yeah.
I just don't. But you say negative words to yourself.
Yeah.
So make sure that you are practicing self compassion. If you're a person of faith, get involved in the community, whether you go to church, right?
Yeah.
The Bible. There's so much that you can learn from the stories in the Bible that can give you strength. And yes, Bridget, date yourself. Go out and do that. I'd say go out to the movies on your own. I challenge you to do that. I actually had done it 3 times in my whole lifetime, and it was due to a circumstance. And I think I shared with you this last,
Yes, yes.
where I was so upset that people were canceling with me, my girlfriends, to go to the movie. And I was like, what is this? I really want to see this movie in the theater, and it's going to go because people, their agendas are different. So make sure, go out, date yourself, love yourself, right?
Yes.
Do in the mirror, do exercises, right?
And Rose has a comment here. She said, I felt numb after divorce, after divorce was final, and secluded myself from everyone. Even now, I focus more on work and my kids so I don't think about it.
You know, to that point, when you focus on an area of your life, that's okay. Where I find, when I've counseled folks in past, where I find that there's the issue, that there's a struggle there, is when that's all you do for such a long time and you abandon yourself.
Oh,
You
yeah.
abandon the things that you liked, you abandon yourself. So for some time it can be a defense mechanism and also a focus of interest. You could say, you know what, I'm going to focus on my kids and work. And those two things are so important. They give you that resiliency, they help you. But I always say monitor, because you know that our kids, and I'm a mom, right? But our kids, we educate them and we do the best that we can, but it's for the world, right? Then comes a time, like my husband and I now, where you're just with yourself, whether an individual or in a relationship. So what I mean by that is love yourself, pay attention to you. What do you need? And for this time, if focus on work is fine. I think it's a good strategy to get focused on work, but don't allow yourself to abandon yourself, right? Put yourself in the priority list. And it's okay to take some time off you and
Yeah,
focusing on your kids. There's nothing wrong with that. I think
absolutely.
it's when it's a long term and you abandon yourself, and then you find that through the years you're like, wait a minute, now
Yeah,
my kid grew up, is out of the home. Who am I? What do I want? All these years I didn't, right? And also you're modeling. You're modeling for your kids on how to pivot, adapt, change. So your kids are paying attention on how you are managing this
absolutely.
time in your life.
I want to share something with you that some people might find this funny, but and also, well, Bridget has a good comment here, but let me tell you something. When you're talking about taking care of yourself and loving yourself and rediscovering yourself because you pay attention so much to other people, one of the things that was funny to me is that for the longest time, for 27 years, when we would order pizza, I don't know, this is so weird, but I know I'm going to share it. All right.
Okay.
So for all that time when we would order pizza, nobody, I just never put attention to what I liked in pizza. So for 27 years, it was always what my children wanted in the pizza, what the father of my children wanted in the pizza. I was just like, yeah, whatever, whatever, whatever. So when I found myself by myself and I was going to order pizza, I cried. I started crying
Oh my God, you're
because
gonna make me cry right
because
now.
you know what? I didn't know what I wanted. I did not know what I truly liked in the pizza because nobody really cared. Not that nobody cared, but nobody ever thought what I want because I was always, yeah, yeah, whatever you want. Because my thinking is, whatever they want on the pizza, let them have it so they can eat it. Whatever my husband, the father of my children what's on the pizza, let him have it because I don't want to cook. Because if you don't like what's on the pizza, I'm gonna have to cook. So I don't want to cook for him, and I don't want to cook because that's the whole purpose of ordering pizza. So I am getting emotional.
It's
Oh my
okay.
god!
It's remember, we are human
Because
and it's
it's
okay.
simple things like that. I didn't know. So I sat there. I just ordered pepperoni pizza because that was normal, but I did not know. It took me a while to figure out that I liked everything on a pizza. Supreme.
You wanted
Supreme.
that supreme
All
for so
the
many
veggies,
years.
all the meat, supreme piece. It took me like 3 or 4 times because I was like, I don't know what I like. So I ordered chicken and buffalo. I didn't like that. I ordered pineapple in some situation or other. I didn't like that. And I just like, so I didn't know. I cried. That is so stupid. I'm
No,
sorry. I know
it's
we can't say that
It's
word. We can't say
not,
that word.
it's not, no, 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 it's not the word. It's that I don't, you see, you just, and I'm
Yes,
right here where
correct me.
I'm letting you know that that's
Correct
what we
me.
think. No, that's what we think about ourselves. When
Yeah,
we're like, yeah,
yeah,
but in reality, you wasn't. What it was is that for so many years, for so many years, you prioritize the father of your kids and your kids. And oftentimes we grew up when we're young, in our culture, especially
yeah,
Puerto Rican and the Latino culture, that we are from very little, we are taught that we are going to be right, the home
yeah.
taker, the home
The homemakers.
makers, and that you have to be sacrificial,
Oh yeah.
and te calladita te ves más bonita, like if you're quiet,
Exactamente.
right, feminine and quiet, and you do not discover what are the things that you like. So
Yeah.
what the experience with the pizza and why it was so emotional is because you did some trial and error to get to rediscover yourself.
Yes,
You
I
were
sure
doing
did.
self-awareness through selecting the different pizzas, which I applaud you that you didn't give up. Because
Yeah,
other people could have said, you know what, I'm just going to have what we always do. But no, you are discovering yourself and you became emotional because
yeah,
that's the process of
yeah.
reawakening who Maria is, not through the motherhood,
Yeah.
not through a wife, but through your essence of who you are, who
I
God
like supreme
created.
pizza. Woo!
Now the pizza, you're like, I know this is the pizza that I like. And that's a
Yeah.
beautiful, you know what? I hope that people can take from this, your example of the pizza, that anyone else can be in this situation where they have to discover themselves and they could feel numb. I read somebody here that was saying they were feeling numb, where you
Yes.
feel that you don't know what you liked or the things you like, you no longer like. That's signs of depression and things like that. And I want you to know that it's okay, right? When I mean it's okay, is that it's normal. We have to understand that it's normal. But what's good, it's what Maria just shared with us. And thank you for sharing
Yeah.
your vulnerability because that can help others to say, you know what, maybe it's not pizza. Maybe for me is now my daughter is going away to college. I'm an empty nester and I'm a single mom. And now I have to rediscover myself. And in this dating world, it's so different, right?
Woo, girl.
Very different. That's
Girl.
a
Woo.
whole other podcast that we could do, right? It's so different. But
Yes.
I thank you for sharing that. And it's okay to up to this day, still if you become emotional about it, that's just signaling how important that was for you, that self-discovery.
Was such a simple thing. Such a and there's more stories on that because I had to go through a process of rediscovering. But on to the next question because we have so much to talk about. And I want to let's see here. This is one I want to jump to number 6 because I think I
Yes.
want to give some time to that because when should someone consider seeking professional help like therapy, coaching to address their self-esteem issues after divorce? And the reason I want to go into this is because you do this. This is what you offer and I want to make sure people know this is one of your specialties because I believe that there comes a point that like I had to seek professional help to help me guide because I don't know all the answers. I've never gone through divorce. I had never gone through that. So I was seeking people that I knew were professionals that guided me and helped me understand that some of the things that I was going through was normal, that isolation was normal, but there's something else to do. That self-esteem was low, but gave me tools to better them, to better myself. So you want to speak to that?
Yes, and if I can share that in my coaching, I do coach women in group coaching, the Boss Chicas Club, Circle of Trust. I don't know if any Boss Chica is watching, and I do the coaching. However, I'm not doing any more the therapy component, but I can refer you to a professional. But how do we know, right? We go from just coping to becoming like, how do we know? Okay, I'm just coping. I'm doing all the things, but when do we know and identify, and it's a good question, when to seek that professional help? And I'm going to give you 3 points of when, and there could be more, but these are the most pronounced, right? If you notice that through the months, your self esteem has gone lower, if you notice that you have a persistent sadness that no matter what is presented to you, you can't shake it off, and it starts going into your workplace, right? The things that you do at work, you start that the second one, you feel impaired in your functioning. So number one, persistent sadness. Number two, you feel impaired in your functioning day to day. That could be functioning at work,
Hmm.
functioning with your relationships, and daily tasks. If you find that you can't get out of bed, you're persisting, you don't want to take a shower, right? You notice that the things you used to love, for you it doesn't mean anything for you, right? If you notice that there's a pattern at work where either you're staying excessively late and focused at work excessively, or the opposite, you're always now, you never were late and now you're a chronic a person who has chronic lateness, this is now affecting you, right? Third, unhealthy coping. That may be that you are, right, maybe some substance use where you are, right, using some substance to numb yourself, right? You may be isolating yourself for very long periods of time. You may be doing some risky behaviors, right? You might be a little bit promiscuous. Some people that happens as well. So these are the areas where you feel out of sorts, out of control. Also, you may notice family and friends, people that are very close to you, may start asking you, are you okay? You seem off. Listen to that. Just don't say, well, no, I'm fine.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
notice that people around you are like, you're not the same, which is true, you're not, it's different. These are signs that you have to say, you know what, I need professional help. I need to speak maybe in your church to your pastor. But
Yeah,
I would say speak to a professional that has the experience
correct.
professionally to guide you and to help you in this process. Just
Yes.
be very mindful, who do you trust, right? A trusted professional, a trusted friend that can offer you some guidance. But make sure that when you see these signs, you're feeling numb, maybe you're very irritable, maybe your tolerance level, you used to be such a patient person and now you just are impatient with people, you're lacking empathy, you're constantly sad, you're getting crying spells, or opposite, you can't even shed a tear because
Wow.
you're so numb.
Yeah.
These are signs to seek professional help within your community. And I hope that you do take um, note of what we're saying, because maybe if you're not experiencing maybe some of the things I shared, you've noticed it in a friend or a family, and it's okay to tell someone, you know something, I think you need help. You may give them a telephone number of a professional, or just let them know, I'm here to listen without judgment.
And we're getting close to our time. This has been so the
Is
time
there a part two? We always do these part twos.
it flew by. It flew by. It's crazy.
I don't know if there's questions in your in the group there, if there's
On this I know we've been so good. We've been on it. We've been on it. So if y'all have any more questions in the next few minutes, go ahead and type them in so we can address them. If not, we're gonna move on to the next one and spend a little bit more time on this one with the time that we have left. It's the number 10. How can the experience of divorce ultimately lead to this is I really like this part. Lead to a long-term personal growth and increased self-esteem. This is so good
so say
because
that
I can speak to
say,
that.
repeat that question again.
How can we experience how can hold on. How can the experience of divorce, how can the experience of divorce ultimately lead to long-term personal growth and increased self-esteem?
Well, wow. That experience of of a divorce or any significant impact in your life that has changed, right? A breakup, but specifically of a divorce, it really stretches you, right? It really shows you how resilient you can be, and it allows you the opportunity for rediscovery of yourself. And that in itself, you start learning what are the things you like. You start learning about boundaries. You start learning about trust. You start learning more about yourself. If you're a person of faith, it may even get you closer, right, in your relationship with God. I know also some people have had the opposite, where in a situation like that, they've been upset, right, with God, or they have, you know, felt like, why me, and why did you allow this to happen to my family? But in this process, you can really have the opportunity, if you allow yourself through the pain to grow, through the pain to be open to greater things that are ahead and before you. And that is in relationships. You may meet your next best friend. You may, it doesn't all have to be romantic. Through
Absolutely.
this relationship, you can do a comeback where you are stronger, you are wiser, and also having that love, that peace within. That's number one. So whenever you attract that other person, if that's what you choose, right? Then you can give the best version of yourself. And
Absolutely.
no one else has to complete you in this process of the divorce, and how you go through the growing pains and you go through it. There's no time frame, right? You become whole, complete, safe. So when you encounter someone else and you join that other person, whether platonic friendship or romantic, you come as a whole. And then that person comes as a whole. And
Yeah.
then together, you guys are better together. But not because that person is going to complete you and you're going to
Correct.
complete them. You come as a whole. So the process of divorce in disguise can have their many blessings. It's all about your
Absolutely.
perspective and how
Absolutely.
you go through it. And having people, I know there was a question there of that and you didn't ask it, but I do want to put that in there because it's important. Who do you surround yourself with?
Oh yeah.
Who are the people that are in your life that you can count on? And it doesn't have to be many, it's not the quantity, it's the quality of the individual. So lean in on people that, like we say, they have your back, but more importantly, they understand and accept you as you are. Stay away from the judgmental and very critical individuals. At this time, you don't need that. You need to
That's right.
rebuild yourself back up and know that this too shall pass. But it's
Yes.
through, how you get through, and you're going to come out on the other side wiser, a
Yes.
better version of yourself. And guess what? There's going to be pain and suffering and things that are not going to be to your liking, but focus on the glass half full. And I will take it a step further. Focus on that you have a glass. The
Yes.
glass is the gift of life.
Absolutely.
Focus on that. Focus that you're here and that you will get through, and you will be a testimony to someone else.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Bridget says, "Amen. Your circle is important.
Absolutely.
People you surround yourself with. So make sure you surround yourself with good, solid people that can guide you through, that can push you through, because you know you need that. Because if you're depressed and they're depressed, that's not good. You're just gonna feed off each other's depression,
Some of
and
us can do trauma
you're both gonna go and jump off a
bonding over, and that's very, very unpopular in groups of friends,
trauma
right?
bonding. Trauma bonding.
It's so, and there's something about it that you feel understood and you're bonding. However, sometimes when you're in that moment, you don't notice that that's all you're doing, and you're not seeing outside of your perspective and of
Yeah.
the pain. So when you're speaking to someone who really is not in that same cycle of trauma, right, or experience, it stretches you a little bit to think a bit differently. And sometimes we don't like that because we like to be in comfort and be with the people and the places and the things that we're always used to. But we grow the most where we've experienced the pain and discomfort and change. That's where we grow the most. The most
Yes.
important and significant lessons are very much there. And that's why you're going to come out of this getting through it on the other side a wiser, more resilient person, a wiser person. And you'll be able to be a testimony also for others. Sometimes we got to get out of our own
Yeah.
pain and know that sometimes we got to be there for someone else. That also can help you in your depression. If you
Absolutely.
now volunteer in a pantry, or if you get involved in other people. What I mean by that, it's connections with friends that maybe they need you, and even though you're going through your situation, you can focus on lending yourself to someone else, and that helps you to feel needed, to feel right, that you're making a difference in someone else's life. So do that as well, maybe
Absolutely.
volunteer. or something like that.
You have the choice. If you're going through divorce, I just want to we're going to close with this, but if you're going through divorce, understand that this is opportunity for growth. And you might not see it right now. You
Right.
might say, "What do you mean? You're crazy." I mean, I want you to replay this, save this, replay it, go to YouTube, maybe listen to it a couple of times because Coach Smiley, she dropped a couple of gems there. She shared a couple of strategies and she shared so much information that you can use that sometimes you have to go back and listen to it.
And
So
listen to it again. And I
yeah,
would be journaling. Write out how
yes.
you're feeling. And listen, you may watch this and say, oh my God, because sometimes this happens when we're very upset and somebody can come across as very optimistic and very positive, and you're like, yes, yes, rah, rah, rah. And it bothers, right? Because you're so engulfed in the pain. You want actually people to speak to you about the pain, but not about the strategies, right? And you seeing people smiling and talking about it, you're like, how could that be? I want you to understand that that's normal. It's normal for us, myself included. There are times that I don't want to hear no one laughing or whatever it may be as we're talking something that's so painful. But what I notice is that I don't have to stay in that pain, and that I can still smile even if I'm in pain. I can still work on myself. And today you might be where you're at. Look at this replay again, journal your feelings out, right? Do a vision board for yourself,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like maybe envision this new you. Start putting, even if it's one photo up there or one word of positivity, and add to it little by little. And then maybe 3 months later, you watch this video again. Notice that there's change. There's going to be change.
Absolutely.
There's going to be change. There might be things getting worse, but while it gets worse, sooner or later it starts getting better. It starts feeling a little more lighter. So please stay in touch with us. Make sure that you're listening to Maria's podcast. You can listen to my podcast as well,
Absolutely.
in other podcasts. Just be mindful what you're listening to,
Yes.
watching. What are you speaking to? What are you allowing in your circle, in your heart? And look at what walls are you putting up. Some of us put up walls and we become bitter and angry and
Oh
harden,
yeah.
and the walls go up because they're justified, right? We
Absolutely.
want to put walls up to protect ourselves. But when you do that, you 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 really negate the opportunity for people like Maria, people like in your community, myself, to come into your heart
Yes.
and help you. So be mindful not to put the walls up so high
Oh yeah.
and be very bitter, right? Justifiable, but at the same time, bitterness, you can't grow love from bitterness. You can't co-create with the creator from low level energies and anger, right? We got to blossom from love, but there could be pain and it's okay. Just work through it little by little. I hope this helps because I
Oh
know it's difficult. And I watched my mom suffer a lot through the divorce. And I know that nowadays we have so much that we can offer to each other and access to information and strategies and journals and all of that. But I give an applause to my mom, and also to anyone out there that's listening, that's going through this. Let me tell you, you have courage
absolutely.
and you can get through this, and together we will help you to get through this.
Where can we find you? Where can we find you?
Here on
If you want more
top,
Coach Smiley, more Coach Smiley,
well,
tell them
one
where we can find you.
one is, and I know on the YouTube you're gonna put all the links, but if you have Instagram, right there it says Smiley Empowerment. You can look me up on Instagram as Smiley Empowerment. I always say be careful of the spelling because I've had people say to me, I couldn't find you because they were spelling my name with a Y at the end. So it's Smile, but Smiley Empowerment on Instagram. If you have TikTok, so many people have TikTok nowadays. You can find me there as Coach Smiley, Smile. YouTube, Smiley Empowerment. Of course, you see my website there, and that connects you to everything. Also, my podcast, the Smiley Empowerment Podcast, over 50 episodes that can really help you. And they're good talking points. I've had a few people, Maria, before we close. I was so excited. I had a group of ladies that are in the mid 20s, late 20s, and they were like, we had a podcast party listening to your podcast together with my besties, and we there were some topics that we selected from the list, and we it gave
Ah,
us talking points. Then I had another lady write into me and say, my husband and I listen to your podcast together, even though a lot of the topics are very much for women. But she was like, it was great talking points. So whenever you listen to a podcast, which is the Maria and Friends podcast, the Smiley Empowerment podcast, or any other podcast, if you listen to podcasts, give it a try.
yes.
Take it as talking points. Maybe with your girlfriend, you listen to an episode or share it, and then you talk. Why do I say this? Because as we're talking with each other, we normalize a lot of these topics that we don't speak about. So the podcast, Maria's and I, and other podcasts, they help you to
Yes.
open your perspective, right? And you can agree to disagree. So they're
Absolutely.
great talking points. So I hope that you guys check it out. Let me know, here, the folks that are in Maria's community, if you see me on TikTok, or and me and Maria met on TikTok. If you see me on TikTok,
Uh-huh. That's where we met. You sure did.
yes, in any of the other social media, and you see me on the in the chat, say hello. Don't be a stranger. Let me know that you are from Maria's podcast and friends, and I love to chat with folks. And if you would like to collaborate or for us to talk, I'm open to that. Maria, you are amazing. I love you are the I've been on other people's podcasts, and I've been on I've had other people interview me. You are one of the best.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so
I
much.
have to say that. And I hope that people in your community are sharing with you that you are just phenomenal, a
Oh,
phenomenal woman. I admire you. You know that because of you, you helped me to go live on TikTok.
yes. That was crazy. I'll never forget that.
We're coming
All I
up
had to do was, you
to
were ready.
November.
You were ready. All I had to do was push you, and you're like,
Spoken to my
no,
night.
this
You were
is
like,
you.
let's do it. You could do it. And you put me out there. And I was like, and mind you, I've done, for those that don't know, I do free master classes and just coaching free. I've done it for more than 4 years on Instagram, Smiley Empowerment.
Yeah.
Tuesdays, I do Martes Empoderamiento live in Instagram in Spanish at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And Wednesday and Thursdays on Instagram, 7 o'clock live in English. Then I
Good.
go into TikTok and I go and I coach there, or just give, master classes and stuff like that. On Wednesdays, midweek boost on TikTok, Coach Smiley. And on Sundays, Sunday reset with Coach Smiley, with Smiley at 8 o'clock. Both of those times, 8 o'clock
When
on TikTok.
they go into your lives, whether it be Instagram or TikTok, can they ask you questions there live?
They can ask me questions live, which many people do. We sometimes have some tough, conversations. And if I find that it's too personal, or I don't like to dig in too much. I told people this. People are like, "Well, we're on live." And I'm like, "We have to be careful. We have to be careful as live hosts and also as participants. How much do we expose ourselves during a live?" But I do know that I've helped many individuals during a live and asking questions or
Absolutely.
motivating, and also the support. The people that are there supporting, especially if you become a regular, you start building community on the platform. I think there's so much of
And
having community.
I like when you talk and you have the little heart. I like when you
Oh,
talk
yes, my
and
heart.
where's that little thing that you do? Ooh.
Hey, my heart, my heart.
Yes, I like when you use that. You use that. She uses that. She has props and everything.
And then
What
you
is
need
it? That
the
little
bowl,
thing.
the bowl.
That that right there. I'm like, oh, I like that. And you go
When
like this.
it's time to do the right, when it's time to
I
do
like that.
the reflection, and for folks to know that this is not my God, and I don't praise this. I've had
Yeah,
people
yeah,
come
yeah.
for me for that. This is a tool that I
A prompt.
use, a prompt that I use to write. It signals and it has vibration and all of that. Scientifically, it does matter, and it relaxes us, and that signals us that it's time to ground ourselves. It's time to, right, relax.
Good. It
And
gets
it
real
just
interesting. It does. It gets real interesting.
for you, let me tell you, thank you. Thank you not only for having me, but
Yeah.
also we're coming up to the 1 year TikTok going
Wow.
live in November when I pressed that button, and that you just, right, you helped me with that. And that's the power of one other person in your life believing in you, one other person in your life, right? But it also takes you, my friend, opening up to
Yeah.
someone helping you. Some of us are closed to the
Yeah.
help. We're like, no, no, my way, right? My way or the highway,
Yeah.
right? So just be open. Be open to someone's goodness in helping you. And I hope that this I hope that this podcast episode does help. I
Does.
really do.
Well, thank you so much, Coach. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us. Make sure you share, you comment, even put replay, like. All of that helps us. Go to Coach Smiley's website and go for all her social medias. Support, support, support. It's really
We have to
will
support.
not cost you anything, but means the most to us. All right. So thank you for being with us, and God bless you. You guys have a great time. Good night.